I can feel your energy from 2 dungeons away. I got my wand, I got my spell slots, I would share it, but today I'm yelling, Lich don't kill my vibe, Lich don't kill my vibe. This video is either the most brilliant idea I've come up with or the dumbest, and there is no in between. Maybe you play tabletop RPGs, maybe you don't. Either way, you probably know about a game called Dungeons and Dragons, and you probably know that in D&D you can play a fantasy character with amazing magical powers, or wielding awesome feats of physical superiority, or you can just play some horny dude with a lute. Why would anyone pick that? I'll tell you why, because bards are dope. In 5th edition, bards have taken on the role to not only support their fellow adventurers with inspirational songs, but they are each a jack of all trades that can heal, deal damage, pull off some of the best utility tricks in the game, enthrall crowds to actually tell the tale of what you all did in that dungeon, and yes, maybe even seduce the dragon. But I have another theory about why players are drawn to the bard. There are plenty of guys who train with historically accurate swords and armor, but we aren't exactly using that stuff in wars. Magic can be a really cool party trick, but no one is casting a fireball or actually flying. Faith is a powerful thing, but real miracles are hard to come by. All of these heroic fantasy elements that your D&D character can do are a power fantasy, and that's fine, that's cool. But then you have the bard. Their magic comes from their songs, their dance, their performance. Almost all of us in real life have been moved by art. Songs matter. Costumes and music videos and live shows matter. At some point, you have probably been having the worst day of your life, then one of your favorite songs comes on and your mood starts to change. Almost like magic. Bards are the closest thing we have to real D&D magic. Bards are awesome, and their impact on play can be just as varied as musical genres in real life. So let's take a deeper look at that today. I'm going to share 10 musical artists with you. I'm not claiming these are the 10 greatest artists ever, nor are they even my personal faves, but consider this a showcase of what is possible in D&D. Whether you've played D&D or not, you could take one of these character concepts and play it in your next game. Just make sure your friends and your dungeon master are down before you show up with your elven archer, Taylor Swift. Funny story, actually. About 2 years ago, as a dungeon master, I fielded a recurring villain named Baylor Swift. You, you get it? Because Baylor is a classic fantasy monster in D&D, and yeah, it was not that well thought out, but my friends did have fun with it, especially when they finally got to slay her. Well, now I am thinking this out, possibly thinking too much. I made a list of 100 artists and narrowed it down to 10 I wanted to talk about. And this is going to be a top 10 list because it's YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, explaining a joke sucks, but not as much as leaving someone out of the joke. So let me explain. One of my favorite YouTubers is Todd in the Shadows, a real pro who's been commenting on popular music for over the last decade. He has over 500,000 subscribers, so it seems more than a little silly that I shout him out, but I need to make sure that if you weren't aware of him before, you are now. His annual worst and best lists are kind of perfection, but I recommend you start with his Train Records series, a deep dive on some of music's biggest album bombs. Or check out whatever his most recent upload is. It's bound to be more entertaining and intelligent than one you're about to get here. Anyway, let's do this. We are counting down number 10. Starting off my list with arguably the greatest rock and roll frontman to ever do it is a strange pick, I know. But sometimes you need a big, shining example to better teach the basics. And while I think most of you know who Freddie Mercury is, not all of you who clicked on this video have actually played D&D. So let's talk about building your character step by step according to the new 2024 Player's Handbook. Every other artist will go by much quicker, but for now, strap in for some D&D 101. Your class is the key factor in what your character can actually do in the game. Fighters fight things, barbarians fight things but more angry, wizards and sorcerers blast spells, and we don't have time to get into how those two are different. Everyone on my list will be a bard. When you create a character, you start at level 1 and work your way as you progress in the campaign. To give things a little more depth, we're going to make characters at level 5. We could go all the way to level 20, but that would get tedious and most games don't make it past level 10 anyway. So Freddie Mercury's class is Bard, and we get a number of abilities to express ourselves in game. For now, we're going to focus less on mechanics and math and more on concepts and flavor. Bardic Inspiration gives us a limited number of chances to turn our allies' failed rolls into successes. Spellcasting gives us magic, which we'll get to later. Expertise and Jack of all trades amplifies our skills, which we'll get to later. Font of Inspiration gives us a major boost to our Bardic Inspiration ability by allowing it to recharge on a short rest. Most abilities recharge on a long rest of 8 hours, but our 5th level bards can take a quick break and come back for an encore. At 3rd level, we choose an archetype that further hones in on our bard's particular powers and flavor. For Freddy, I'm going with the College of Valor. He's leading the charge because he wants it all and he wants it now. College of Valor will let us use our Bardic Inspiration die to shield our allies from hits and add to their damage rolls. It also gives us some bonus proficiencies, which I'll get to later. Your background is a brief description of where you came from before you became an adventurer, and it's a comment on what your daily life might be like when you're not delving into a dungeon or saving the world. There's one background called Entertainer, and that's a reasonable pick for everyone here, but I think it fits most for Freddy. Entertainer is going to give us +2 charisma, +1 dexterity, and the musician feat. Your species used to be referred to as your race. It's a whole debate and we're not getting into it. In D&D, you can be a classic human, elf, dwarf, or halfling, plus weirdness like Yuan-Ti, Warforged, Aarakocra, and Plasmoid. Freddy isn't perfectly well behaved, but he's still an angel, so we're going with an Aasimar. There are 6 big numbers on your D&D sheet that help determine the rest of the little numbers you add to your die rolls. They do stuff. Here's the helpful graphic you can pause on. Most important to the bard is the charisma stat. That's how we influence people and perform well, and it's also the number we use to make our spells more effective. There's a few ways to get your ability scores, but for simplicity's sake, we're choosing from the standard array. You get these 6 numbers to assign where you want, then you add the bonuses from your background. So for Freddy, we end up with 10 strength, 16 dexterity, 12 constitution, 13 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and 16 charisma. You've probably seen alignment charts come up as their own kind of meme, so I won't spend much time explaining it. Freddy goes against the status quo, so he's chaotic. And while he's compassionate, he can also be a wild card. We're going with chaotic neutral. Each ability scores has some skills attached to it, except for Constitution, but that's where our hit points come from, so that's kind of a big deal. Each skill hones in on a specific way to utilize your abilities, and to be better with a skill, you have to be proficient. Every character gets 2 designated skills from their background, plus a few more based on your class. Since all of our characters will start as bards at level 1, they'll get their choice of any 3 skills. Jack of all trades allows us to be decent at all the skills we aren't proficient in. Finally, at 2nd level, bards get the expertise ability, meaning we get to pick 2 more skills to be even better in, marked with an E. I think that most people who have never played D&D would be surprised to hear that bards can actually cast spells just as well as a wizard or a druid. They're a core part of our abilities, so for each bard, I'll spend a little time selecting their spells. By the way, one of my gripes about D&D is that both player progression and spell progression are referred to by levels, yet they have completely different progression rates. So our 5th level bard can cast 3rd level spells. For our early pickups, we get cantrips, also known as 0 level spells. Normal spells require you to spend a limited number of spell slots you gain back each day by resting, but cantrips are less impactful and thus can be cast infinitely. Spells and cantrips all do different things. It's one of the most complex aspects of the game, so I won't be going over each spell in detail. Just judge it by the name, and you'll probably guess pretty close to its effect. Our cantrips for Freddy are Blade Ward, Message, and Vicious Mockery. Our 1st level spells are Charm Person, Healing Word, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, and Thunderwave. Our 2nd level spells are Aid, Shatter, and Suggestion. Our 3rd level spells are Mass Healing Word and Slow. No D&D character is complete without a bunch of gear. Since our characters are level 5, you're actually supposed to get some extra gold and a few magic items. But I'm going to keep things simple and focus on our core equipment. Not every character can wear every armor or wield every sword, and bards only start with proficiency in light armor and simple weapons, plus some extra stuff like musical instruments and a tool from your background. For Freddy, College of Valor offers us some better equipment suited for a frontline leader. For armor, we want a breastplate and a shield. For weapons, we'll grab a rapier. Most melee weapons rely on strength, but some weapons have the finesse quality, meaning we can instead take advantage of our much better dexterity stat. As a bonus, we'll snag a piano, but good luck taking that into a dungeon, so we'll also play a guitar reflavored as the classic lute. We'll snag an entertainer's pack and call it a day. All right, everybody, you're doing great. This is the last thing. When you reach 4th level in your chosen class, you gain a feat. Feats can do a number of fancy things, improving your gameplay, but you can also get an ability score improvement if you don't need anything shiny and just want your base stats to get better. That's what we need for Freddy. No frills, just solid charisma. Ability score improvement plus 2 charisma. Number 9. No Todd in the Shadows tribute would be complete without a questionable inclusion of country music. I considered a few entries, but I think I finally landed on someone we can all agree on. Dolly Parton is an accomplished performer, a national treasure, and our next Bard build. With Freddy, I went with a more offensive leader build. For Dolly, I think we need to emphasize the support capabilities of the Bard. To double down in that department, we're actually going to multi-class into Cleric. This is going to make our spell selection and our ability scores more difficult, but we can work around that. By the way, for any serious D&D fans out there, I am not making optimized builds. We're here for possibilities and good vibes, not always having the best tactics available. We've already gone over our Bard features, so let's look at Cleric. At level 1, we select a Divine Order. For Dolly, we're going with Protector to wear heavy armor. At level 2, we get Channel Divinity, which allows us to heal an ally, damage an enemy, or turn undead. As a level 3 Bard, we still get a College, so let's look at that. Dolly is well-spoken and quotable, so we're going with the College of Eloquence. We get a significant bonus for influencing people and an ability to cut down our foes with our words. I know that last one may not seem like Dolly, but I grew up in the South and I fully understand what it's like when an otherwise mild-mannered church lady turns her wrath against you. Acolyte is a fitting background for our holy singer, and faith seems important to Dolly. We're going to take plus 2 charisma, plus 1 wisdom, and the magic initiate feat. The magic initiate feat lets us select 2 more cantrips and a first level spell from the cleric list, so we're going with guidance, spare the dying, and guiding bolt. Our species is fairy. Like most of the species here, I don't have a ton of logic to back this one up. It just feels right to have Dolly be a fairy godmother watching over the rest of the party. Also, I've dated my fair share of Southern girls, and they all seem to love Tinkerbell. We still need a high charisma as a bard, but as a multi-class spellcaster, we also need to watch our wisdom for our cleric spells. This works fine for Dolly, she is both wise and charming. Scores are 13 strength, 8 dexterity, 10 constitution, 12 intelligence, 16 wisdom, and 16 charisma. Most of my bard builds utilize a high dexterity and dump strength, because dexterity can be utilized for offense, defense, and a number of skills, while strength only helps us for offense and athletics. But heavier armor has a strength requirement, so our little fairy is going to the gym. This one's easy, neutral good all the way. For our skills, we pick up religion, medicine, and performance, and our expertise is in insight and persuasion. This is an interesting spell list, because while we have access to 3rd level spell slots, we don't actually prepare any 3rd level spells. Instead, each of our choices from the Bard and Cleric list need to shine and hopefully come with the ability to upcast into higher level slots. For our cantrips, we have Mending, Sacred Flame, Friends, and Message. For 1st level, we have Bless, Cure Wounds, Animal Friendship, Featherfall, and Heroism. And for 2nd level, we have Lesser Restoration, Prayer of Healing, Enhance Ability, and Zone of Truth. Because we have 13 strength, we can wear Chainmail. Heavy armor allows us to have a higher armor class while ignoring our negative dexterity. We'll also pick up a shield to increase our capacity to tank. Our weapon will be a longsword. We'll switch things up with a priest pack and a holy symbol, and Dolly is actually a multi-instrumentalist. We'll grab a dulcimer, banjo, and fiddle. We don't get a feat. This is one drawback of multiclassing. You only get feats when you reach every 4th level in a class, not 4th overall character level. But that's alright. Dolly is perfect just the way she is. Number 8. Sadrake, I hear you like nat ones. You saw the thumbnail. You knew this was coming. While the debate for the GOAT will never end, and I certainly have no clout to give my opinion on the matter, I think we can agree on who is the biggest rapper right now. He also provides a chance to show that your D&D character doesn't always have to be a bright and shiny hero. Oh no. He can weave whispers in the shadows, conjuring up fears in the hearts of his most hated foes. Kendrick is going full bard. Multiclassing is a good option when it fits, but be careful not to overuse it. Often, your best route is to follow through on one class. For our subclass, we're looking in Xanathar's Guide to Everything for the College of Whispers. It doesn't include a good piece of art in the book, so please accept this picture of Peter Baelish from Game of Thrones, and I think you'll understand what we're going for. Within the College of Whispers, our blades can inflict psychic damage on our foes, and if we spend enough time studying an unworthy adversary who uses Ghost Riders for their level ups, we can take them down with mere threats. Our background is Sage. Kendrick is a refined wordsmith and a student of the craft. We're going with a background that matches that bookish side. Sage will give us +1 intelligence, +2 wisdom, and the wizard version of the magic initiate feat. We'll pick up message, mind sliver, and shield. Our species is halfling. Our Kendrick build will have 8 strength, 12 dexterity, 10 constitution, 15 intelligence, 16 wisdom, and 14 charisma. Controversially, our intelligence and wisdom are higher than our core stat of charisma. But again, these are not optimized builds, and while I think Kendrick is a very clever artist who knows how to play the game, he's also not the flashiest act around. Crazy, scary, spooky, hilarious. Kendrick is probably a good guy, especially if you're from LA. But for this build, we're going chaotic evil. You may have problems with that, but I dare you to tell me that Meet the Grams was not a chaotic evil act. Also, look at this Super Bowl face. Absolute demon. Case closed. Our skills are Arcana, Investigation, and Stealth. We have expertise in Persuasion and History. Our spells are Friends, Message, and Vicious Mockery. Our first level spells are Command, Dissonant Whispers, Fairy Fire, and Sleep. Our second level spells are Blindness, Deafness, Crown of Madness, and Phantasmal Force, and our third level spells are Fear and Speak with Dead. Our armor is going to be Humble with Leather. Our weapon will be a couple of basic daggers for better concealed strikes. We don't play an instrument, so we'll need an arcane focus to cast our spells. We'll grab a wand, which will hold like a mic. We'll snag some calligrapher's supplies for writing our verses, and I'm swapping in a burglar's pack for our more sneaky character. As a bonus, we'll buy a mule and name him Grand National. Our 4th level feat is going to be Keen Mind. Keen Mind will give us some extra utility, as well as a +1 in intelligence. Number 7. I really pushed myself to not put a lot of classic rock on this list. My favorite band ever, The Killers, used to make pop hits, but have since decided that they're grown-up American men, and I've actually been okay with those albums. But for this pick, we're going back in time and back across the pond to my first favorite band, The Who. The Who features 4 legendary artists who are all undisputed greats at the top of their field. But I had to go with only one. Sometimes the bard isn't the leader or the support. Sometimes you want to join the death ball and deal some damage yourself with some absolutely killer drum fills. For our Keith Moon build, we have another multiclass, this time aimed at dealing melee damage. We're keeping 4 levels in Bard so we can get our feat, but for our 5th level, we'll take a rank in Barbarian, combining technical prowess with the ability to let loose and destroy the stage. Do note that we can't rage and cast spells at the same time, but we can switch modes, that's fine. Rage is a major offensive and defensive boost in melee combat. Unarmored defense lets us avoid hits even without armor, and weapon mastery gives us a slight boost when we use our favored weapons. Our bardic college is the College of Swords. We pick up proficiency in medium armor and scimitars, and very disrespectfully, we will use neither. We can also perform a blade flourish on our turn, transforming our teamwork into showboating by adding to our own damage and mobility when we use our bardic inspiration. For our background, we're going with Soldier. While Keith Moon was never an enlisted recruit, I like to think he was pretty scrappy as a youth. It's going to let us pick up the Savage Attacker feat along with +2 strength and +1 constitution. I think Orc fits as our species. Adrenaline Rush and Relentless describe Keith's playing style very well. Let's talk about another multi-class drawback. If this were an optimized build for a melee bard, we would probably go with a Paladin or a Hexblade Warlock, since those allow us to synergize charisma for both our classes. For Barbarian, we have to have good strength and constitution in addition to good charisma for our spells, meaning we are now mad, mutual ability dependent. But I think we can make it work. We're going for 17 strength, 12 dexterity, 14 constitution, 10 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and 14 charisma. Another classic rocker, another party animal. Chaotic neutral. Our skills are intimidation, sleight of hand, and deception, with expertise in performance and athletics. Our cantrips are prestidigitation, true strike, and vicious mockery. Our first level spells are Bane, Longstrider, Sleep, and Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Our second level spells are Enthrall, Invisibility, and Shatter. We don't need armor because barbarians get to add their constitution modifier to their armor class. We'll be performing the concert shirtless. For weapons, we need a pair of light hammers. This will go great with our 2-weapon fighting, plus we can throw them in a pinch. With Barbarian, we also have the Nick weapon mastery, allowing us to make an extra attack when we attack with 2 weapons on the same turn. We'll grab a classic Explorer's pack and a few different kinds of percussion and get on with the tour. Dual Wielder is going to amp up our fighting with 2 drumsticks and give us a +1 in strength. Number 6. As soon as I said Freddie Mercury is the greatest frontman to ever do it, I knowingly activated several sleeper agents, metalheads ready to come for my throat with names like Halpert, Hetfield, and Ozzy. I'm actually something of a metalhead myself, so I hear them, but I have only one name in mind. Ronnie James Dio is not the most well-known artist on this list, but he's very well respected in metal. Trained in opera, but drawn towards something darker, Dio brings a unique and bewildering performance to his vocals. He's also the guy who popularized Demon Horn, so that's awesome. Let's get to the build. Another multi-class, this time capitalizing on our high charisma, and actually only going up to Bard 2. We're classically trained, but left the promise of traditional music to answer the otherworldly call of metal. Warlocks are arcane spellcasters, who in the lore derive their power from an extraplanar being, in our case, an archfiend. You usually work with your DM to decide who your particular extraplanar patron is, and for Dio, I'm going with Zerial, a fallen angel and fighter of demons who we could redeem. Dark One's blessing allows us to recover when we drop to 0 hit points. Our patron is also going to grant us a few bonus spells: Burning Hands, Command, Scorching Ray, and Suggestion. Wayfarer just feels right. This will give us +2 Charisma, +1 Dexterity, and the Lucky Feat. Doubling down on the Hell angle, we are going to play the popular half-fiend race of Tiefling. We'll get some extra spells to spice up our already impressive repertoire coming up: Hellish Rebuke, Darkness, and Thaumaturgy. Our Dio has 10 Strength, 16 Dexterity, 8 Constitution, 12 Intelligence, 13 Wisdom, and 16 Charisma. Despite our powers coming from the pits of hell, we're actually playing a really wholesome dude. Not all tieflings are drawn to evil. Most metalheads are really nice guys. Chaotic good. Our skills are insight, stealth, and history, with expertise in performance and arcana. So this spell list is weird. Warlock's magic works a little differently because their limited pact magic recharges on a short rest, rather than a long rest like normal spell slots. But we can use bard spells with our pact magic, and warlock spells with our bard spell slots. Basically, we have two pools and a lot of spells to choose from. For cantrips, we have Prestidigitation, Thunderclap, Eldritch Blast, and Toll the Dead. For first level spells, we have Bane, Armor of Agathis, Detect Magic, Healing Word, Thunderwave, Hellish Rebuke, and Hex. And for our second level pact magic slots, we have Crown of Madness and Hold Person. We'll put on some studded leather armor, classic metal, and I'm actually feeling a quarterstaff for our weapon and arcane focus. We'll go with the Entertainer's Pack as well as a trumpet. Dio actually practiced with a trumpet, and that's how he honed his breathing techniques. And he played bass in one of his early bands called Elf. Nice. We don't get a feat for Dio, but we do get one more feature from being a warlock. Eldritch Invocations gives us more gifts from our patron that allows for even more customization. We'll grab Agonizing Blast, which will allow us to add our charisma to our Eldritch Blast cantrip. Repelling Blast will further augment this by pushing our enemies away when we hit them. Finally, Devil's Sight allows us to see through magical darkness. We already have Dark Vision as a tiefling, but now that we can see through the darkness spell we cast on our foes, it means that they're blinded while we attack with advantage. Number 5. We've talked about rap, rock, metal, and country. Now I'm feeling some rhythm and blues, some serious soul, maybe even a little bit of funk. This man needs no introduction, but deserves one. The hardest working man in show business, Mr. Dynamite. I am very pale and very uncomfortable saying Soul Brother number 1. Please welcome James Brown. Our James Brown build is going to go full bard, loud and proud. Most of the bardic colleges I've mentioned so far have actually been around in the game for a while, but the 2024 book did introduce one totally new bardic subclass that is off-brand, absolutely delightful, and very fitting for our purposes of bringing James Brown to life in our game. They get a plethora of abilities that all combine to make a powerful hand-to-hand fighter without weapons or armor, weaving in kicks and punches to their dancing performance. I can't think of a better way to portray this legend of many moves, especially considering he did some time boxing in his younger days. James Brown grew up dirt poor, so we're going with the most humble of backgrounds with the farmer. We want to get +2 dexterity, +1 constitution, and most importantly, the tough feat. I was actually surprised to discover that James Brown was only 5'6" despite his larger-than-life stage presence. But we're sticking with Goliath, specifically the Storm Giant subtype. For ability scores, we have 8 Strength, 16 Dexterity, 13 Constitution, 10 Intelligence, 12 Wisdom, and 16 Charisma. So, listen, alignment is rough for me. And to try to get the alignments right for this video, I did some extra delving into each of these artists' achievements and controversies. I have a lot of thoughts on this one. Too many thoughts to fit into this video, especially when some of the facts behind James Brown's legacy would really dampen the mood. For our purposes, I am declaring our James Brown-based D&D character lawful good, and I am moving on. Our skills are animal handling, nature, and religion, with expertise in acrobatics and performance. For our cantrips, we have Dancing Lights, Thunderclap, and Vicious Mockery. Our first level spells are Bane, Cure Wounds, Heroism, and Thunderwave. Our second level spells are Enhance Ability, Enthrall, and Hold Person. And our third level spells are Bestow Curse and Leomund's Tiny Hut. College of Dance actually has an unarmored defense feature kind of like Barbarian, so we'll ditch the armor and gain a bonus from our charisma. We don't really need weapons because we fight with unarmed strikes. We grab an entertainer's pack, a piano, a lute, and a harmonica. For our feat, we need an ability score improvement for +2 dexterity. You could actually go with charisma if you want, but for my build, I feel like emphasizing our fight dancing. Number 4. This next one is my dark horse pick. I freely admit that by any metric, there is zero reason for this person to be standing alongside the likes of James Brown and Dolly Parton. There's even less reason for him to be number 4, but that's mostly because I really needed Freddie Mercury to explain D&D 101 to you guys, so if you'd like, you can swap Freddie into this spot. But it's important to note that in D&D, you don't always play a popular archetype. It's fun to play something weird, and part of this video is about showing the possibilities of who you can be in D&D. There were a few modern metal singers with harsh vocals I considered for this list, but none of them had an impact on me like our next bard. This is a vocalist who I only discovered within the last 3 years, a frontman with charisma and style that is far from ordinary. I'll be brief. He looks like this. He sounds like this. His name is Will Ramos, and I think the band he joined, Lorna Shore, is incredible. Now, to be somewhat fair, I think Will would agree that he doesn't quite stack up to the legends on this list. We will only be leveling him up to level 3, but I'm eagerly awaiting to see where Lorna Shore levels up on their adventure. For our Will Ramos D&D build, we are going full bard. Will Ramos is known for conjuring inhuman noises, so we'll be summoning some inhuman forces of our own. The College of Spirits is a kind of medium in D&D, pulled from the horror-themed campaign setting of Ravenloft. We're going with the sailor background. I can neither confirm nor deny that Will Ramos has ever touched a boat, but I guarantee he does know how to handle himself in a mosh pit, so we want the tavern brawler feat. This will also give us +2 dexterity and +1 wisdom. In D&D, you're not just an elf, you're a special kind of elf. The player's handbook offers high elf, wood elf, and drow, but we're going with something more interesting. The Shadar Kai are elves from the Shadowfell, touched by the Raven Queen. This fits great for Will. Our ability scores are 8 strength, 14 dexterity, 12 constitution, 10 intelligence, 14 wisdom, and 15 charisma. Every interview and live show I've watched of Will shows him to be a ridiculously nice dude. He's neutral good. Our skills are acrobatics, stealth, and deception. Our expertise is in performance and perception. Our cantrips are Dancing Lights, Friends, and True Strike. Our first level spells are Bane, Dissonant Whispers, and Heroism. Our second level spells are Cloud of Daggers, Invisibility, and Shatter. We'll rock out in studded leather armor. We'll grab a couple daggers to take advantage of finesse, plus a short bow for ranged enemies. We're going to dark places, so we'll pick up a Dungeoneer's pack. We usually need an instrument to cast our bard spells, but College of Spirits offers us a spirit focus, so we'll just use a skull to sing our spells through. Brutal. Number 3. 2024 was a big year in pop music, and notably, it gave us 4 pop ladies with standout albums. They were all considered. They would all make good D&D characters, or actually a good D&D party with very different builds. But for my own heart, there was only one new age diva I could put on this list. I remember being a theater kid in high school. I remember when someone told me and all my friends it was okay to be born this way. For our Lady Gaga build, once again, we are going full bard. College of Creation is offered in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and I for one think Gaga and Tasha would get along great. Our Moat of Potential amplifies our bardic inspiration on allies no matter how they choose to utilize it, and we can begin to breathe life into our fantastical ideas. For our background, I strongly considered Guide, but I think we have to go with another entertainer. +2 charisma, +1 dexterity, musician feat. I have no reason for this. Gaga just has gnome vibes, trust me. The Tinkerer ability is going to synergize well with our College of Creation features as we bring elaborate publicity stunts and stage moves to life. Lady Gaga's ability scores are 8 Strength, 14 Dexterity, 10 Constitution, 14 Intelligence, 13 Wisdom, and 17 Charisma. I am going with Chaotic Good for our alignment. Our skills are Acrobatics, History, and Arcana, with expertise in Performance and Insight. Our cantrips are Thunderclap, Minor Illusion, and Starry Wisp. Our first level spells are Charm Person, Color Spray, Cure Wounds, and Heroism. Our second level spells are Aid, Enthrall, and Mirror Image. And our third level spells are Hypnotic Pattern and Mass Healing Word. For our equipment, we want studded leather armor, although you could ask your DM nicely if you can wear a meat suit for the same armor bonus. For Gaga, we're actually going to go weaponless. We have short range and long range spell options, so we can handle ourselves. We're going to need a disguise kit for all our wacky costumes, and for our instruments, we can play the lute, the drums, and Lady Gaga can actually rock a keytar, which gets rid of the piano in the dungeon dilemma. Inspiring Leader is a feat that could easily go to all of our bards, but I've reserved it for Mother Monster herself. It's going to help out our party and give us another +1 in charisma. Number 2. Yeah, I don't know how to introduce this one, you guys. It's Beyonce. Our Beyonce build is going bard all the way. Queen Bee gets my absolute favorite bardic college, the College of Glamour. Beguiling Magic gives us a couple bonus spells and the ability to charm or frighten our enemies, and Mantle of Inspiration is a party buff that's especially useful when it's time for the ladies to get in formation. Beyonce is renowned not only for her artistic expression, but her ability to market herself and her ambitious projects. We're going with Merchant for our background, giving us +2 charisma, +1 intelligence, and the lucky feat. Another flavor of elf, Eladrin are the closest to the Feywild, and have the unique ability to change their attitudes and abilities like the changing of the seasons. For an artist who can change their whole tone and genre on different albums, this works perfectly. Our ability scores are going to be 8 Strength, 14 Dexterity, 12 Constitution, 14 Intelligence, 10 Wisdom, and 17 Charisma. This one was really tough. Beyonce is an activist, but she's also a millionaire. She's an unstoppable deity, and somehow still an underdog, at least up until the point that she finally won Album of the Year. I wound up going with True Neutral. Our skills are Animal Handling, Persuasion, Investigation, Perception. Our expertise is in Performance and Intimidation. Our cantrips are Light, Mending, and Thunderclap. Our first level spells are Bane, Command, Healing Word, and Thunderwave. Our second level spells are Detect Thoughts, Enhance Ability, and Zone of Truth. And our third level spells are Dispel Magic and Hypnotic Pattern. We'll snag some studded leather armor. For weapons, we'll grab a short bow. We'll stick to the Entertainer's Pack, some crystals for our arcane focus, and I'm actually going to give Beyonce one magic item in the form of a bag of holding to carry our atrocious amount of money. For our feat, we are taking an ability score improvement +2 charisma. And now, some honorable mentions. I really wanted to include an all-time great guitar player on the list, but Keith Richards broke one of my 5 rules, which I won't elaborate on, but you can pause here to read. Me giving you my Keith Richards D&D build would be pointless because there is already a canon Keith Richards D&D character by the name of Jack Sparrow. Grimes was originally my dark horse candidate, a personal fave whose music might not be that well known to the rest of the world. Unfortunately, if you do know her, then you know who she had a baby with, and I'm not prepared for those comments. Gerard Way is a compelling and unique frontman who helms concept albums and comic books, which already makes him a dungeon master with some clout. I've thought of a few potential builds, but nothing really stuck. Sorry if that's not okay. This would have been a real topical pick, and it would have been nice to get some K-pop on the list. But I don't actually know that much about Blackpink. My favorite K-pop group is KDA. They're all D&D characters in a campaign called League of Legends, and somehow that build list is my highest performing video. And finally, David Bowie was an easy pick for number 1, but he presented some problems. Above all, the man is already playing multiple characters himself. I would have to do one build for Ziggy, one build for the Thin White Duke, and so on. Side note, did you know that Bowie wanted to play Elrond? Number 1. Who could possibly place above Beyoncé? I'll tell you who. I thought of an artist with cross-generational appeal, with hits spanning multiple decades, a lovable character, and a true performer. Few people are brave enough to call him their favorite artist, but many people have a favorite song by him, whether they care to admit it or not. This artist didn't occur to me until later, but as soon as I thought of him, there was nowhere else to put him but number 1. Weird Al Yankovic. I didn't stutter. No one brings the D&D energy like Weird Al. It's a long-running joke that many players and DMs want their campaigns to look like King Arthur, but they inevitably wind up looking like Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Playing Weird Al just allows you to jump straight to that inevitable endpoint and have a good time doing it. I am being dead serious here. This is not a troll pick. If I got the chance to play D&D with anyone on this list, I would be blessed with every option. Well, most options. I would not last one night of drugs and pranks with Keith Moon, and my soul would immediately leave my body in the presence of Gaga. Dolly Parton would probably bring great vibes and the best snacks, though. But I know the person who I would have the most fun playing with is Weird Al. And for all the talk of challenging combat and compelling narratives, at the end of the day, D&D is about having a good time. And you can bring that good time to life with this build. Weird Al is a full bard all the way to Albuquerque. And we are choosing the College of Satire. This option comes from my least favorite D&D book, but sometimes the brightest treasures come from the darkest dungeons. We get a couple bonus proficiencies and the ability to tumble around the battlefield as a bonus action on our turn. While our art is entertaining, it's certainly not original. And that's fine, nothing is original. We're a proud charlatan, taking +2 charisma, +1 dexterity, the skilled feat, and perhaps most importantly, proficiency in the forgery kit. Changeling is the perfect species for this weirdo, and it's going to give us the crucial ability to shape change at will as we take on the appearance of other artists. Our ability scores for Weird Al are 8 Strength, 14 Dexterity, 10 Constitution, 12 Intelligence, 14 Wisdom, and 17 Charisma. Our alignment is an easy, chaotic good. We wound up with a lot of skills. We have Sleight of Hand, Performance, Investigation, Perception, Survival, Arcana, and Insight, and our expertise is in Deception and History. Our cantrips are Blade Ward, Minor Illusion, and Vicious Mockery. Our first level spells are Detect Magic, Healing Word, Identify, and Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Our second level spells are Calm Emotions, Magic Mouth, and Suggestion. And our third level spells are Major Image and Stinking Cloud. For our equipment, we need, say it with me, studded leather armor and 2 daggers. We want an entertainer's pack. We'll also need a forgery kit. And for our iconic instrument, we will of course be grabbing an accordion. Actor is going to further enhance our ability to flawlessly mimic other performers and give us our final +1 in charisma. And that's the list. Thank you everybody for watching. Whether you're a subscriber who just wanted me to talk about D&D builds, or a newcomer who came for the music. Sound off in the comments if you want advice for playing your favorite artist. This video was a lot of fun to make, and I hope you had fun watching. Have a nat 20 day. Bye-bye. Dungeon Master, you've been down too long in the DMG. Your boss monsters, CR3. Shiny diamonds in the chest that's a mimic in the fifth room. No one escapes from your tomb. You got a game today. Game today, yeah, yeah.